After a meeting, you replay one comment that felt like an attack on your competence. Instead of seeking the truth, your mind begins to build a case to feel safe again. This pattern emerges when reasoning turns into defensive combat, focused on winning rather than understanding. In a different mode, reasoning is like map making, where the goal is an accurate picture of reality. When the goal is victory, being wrong feels like a defeat, and evidence becomes ammunition. When the goal is accuracy, being wrong becomes an update, and feedback becomes a gift rather than a threat. In relationships, one remark can be seen as cruelty or as space, and the story you choose shapes everything. At work, people stop sharing problems when they expect defensiveness, so the organization misses early warnings. In the next minutes, you will learn how to switch mindsets, test biases, and speak in calibrated probabilities. This video is inspired by The Scout Mindset by Galef, and you can subscribe for more tools to revise your MAPM. The soldier mindset questions whether a belief can be defended, thus scanning for reasons to hold the line. The scout mindset inquires if a statement is true, searching for evidence to refine the map. This distinction matters because motives can skew what seems plausible, even when the facts are clear. In this distortion, errors feel personal, and the mind protects status, identity, or comfort over accuracy. A French officer investigating espionage had reasons to assume a suspect was guilty and to avoid scandal. Yet, he continued to investigate, failed to find supporting evidence, and treated uncovering innocence as a duty. This attitude exemplifies accuracy-driven reasoning, where inconvenient truths do not automatically trigger denial or rationalization. Over time, a scout approach produces fewer surprise collapses because assumptions are tested before they harden into doctrine. Notice your next impulse to prove someone wrong and replace it with a search for disconfirming evidence. When you catch yourself asking if I can believe this, pause and reframe the decision. As, is it true? A scout mindset involves considering other reasonable interpretations of a situation, rather than sticking to your immediate story. This approach works because meaning's often ambiguous, and the first interpretation is rarely the only plausible one. In a conflict, one person might read distance as rejection, while another sees the same behaviour as respect and space. If you treat your story as fact, you stop asking questions and miss opportunities to repair misunderstandings. Leaders who claim to want bad news may react with defensiveness when employees mention problems in the company. When messengers are punished, people stay quiet, and the system continues to run on flattering assumptions. A scout response changes incentives, as truth-tellers expect curiosity rather than combat when they speak up. This openness improves relationships and teams, as reality becomes shared rather than negotiated through fear. Practice naming at least 2 interpretations before reacting, and then ask what evidence would favour each one. When feedback stings, state one thing that could be true in it, and request one concrete example. Even sincere individuals often apply skepticism unevenly, becoming harsh critics of opposing claims and easy believers of friendly ones. Thought experiments reveal this imbalance by altering who holds the claim while keeping the evidence constant. Without a check, selective doubt can protect a side, but also mislead decisions based on weak evidence. With a check, you can identify cherry-picked support and demand the same standards for evidence across disagreements. The selective skeptic test asks you to imagine the same evidence supporting the opposing side and judge it again. The conformity test asks whether you would still hold a view if the person who expressed it suddenly withdrew it. The double standard test asks whether you would judge the same act differently if it came from your group or your opponent. Together, these tests shift the focus from defending a tribe to building a map that withstands scrutiny. Choose one recurring debate, run all 3 tests once, and note where your standards changed. For more practical ways to test your thinking, subscribe to continue developing habits that resist motivated reasoning. The scout mindset is not timid but precise, distinguishing what is known from what remains uncertain. Calibration means your stated confidence aligns with reality, so 55% predictions should come true about half the time. Poor calibration can lead to costly surprises, as you plan as if guesses were facts and ignore warning signs. Good calibration supports better planning, allowing you to hedge, gather data, or pause when confidence is low. A friend might reassure a struggling entrepreneur, but hesitate when asked to recommend them to co-workers. That hesitation reveals a hidden probability estimate, and a small bet can surface what you actually believe. Once you practice stating levels like 65 or 85%, discussions become clearer and less performative. This prevents false bravado, as admitting uncertainty is treated as information, not weakness or disloyalty. For 1 week, attach a percent to predictions you care about, and later compare them with outcomes. When confidence is high, act decisively. And when it is middling, invest in tests that could change your mind. Beliefs can become badges, and tribal loyalty can make updating them feel like a betrayal rather than an opportunity to learn. When identity is tied to a position, pressure builds to defend it, regardless of its truth. This pressure makes criticism sting more and encourages rationalization to maintain a positive self-image. A second identity can counterbalance this pull, such as pride in scrutiny, double-checking, and valuing data. A researcher once built her entire identity around paranormal beliefs, but when confronted with results that contradicted her, she changed because truth-seeking mattered enough to compete with belonging. She could change because the pursuit of truth was significant enough to overcome the pressure from her tribe to continue believing. Those who face hard truths often value the scout mindset as a personal value, not a grudging chore. This stance invites opposing views, reduces defensiveness, and makes it easier to revise positions without losing dignity. List the labels you wear, then write one way each label could bias what evidence feels comfortable to accept. Choose an identity statement like "I value truth," and practice saying "I was wrong" without adding excuses. The goal is not to become emotionless, but to separate the desire to win from the desire to understand. A scout mindset keeps ambition intact while directing it toward truth, so progress comes from understanding rather than defensiveness. You learned the soldier and scout contrast, and how asking if it is true shifts reasoning from defense to discovery. You also learned 3 bias tests, calibration practice, and identity moves that make updating feel safe. These mechanisms reduce drama in disagreements because standards stay consistent and uncertainty is spoken plainly. They also improve collaboration, as people share problems earlier when they expect curiosity instead of combat. Start small by picking one decision this week and writing the strongest argument against your current view. Then assign a probability to being wrong, and choose one test or conversation that could update that number. Over time, revising your map becomes normal, and the reward is clearer judgment under pressure and fewer avoidable surprises. If clearer judgment sounds worth building, then subscribe to keep learning these tools and applying them in daily decisions.